Okay. There we go. Starting to put the wooden locking buttons in place. And we're going to try and get them in as square as possible. Everybody knows you're square, Denim. One of my favorite lines from King Kong, the original, 1933 version. All right, now simply going to take some of the clay that's been pushed away from the base of the button, and I'm bringing the clay up into tight contact with it. And my little shop heater just came on. Ah, I thought this was the merry, merry month of May, not the chilly, chilly month of May. Oh well, live and learn. All right, same thing here. Go around and we simply draw the clay into contact with the button. Lift to make sure we get underside of it. If that's accomplished as well. Accompli. Right on, like so. Okay. And I'll go around the base with brush with alcohol also to help further smooth that. On the other side. All right. There's a little Frankenstein looking bolts in this thing. Now we're going to put them, let's see. I know we're definitely going to put them towards the front corners here, as we did the first mold. And again, here, this one has a little chip in the mushroom part. We don't want any chips if we can avoid it. I want to get them in there as symmetrically as possible. Of course, we all know nothing in nature is actually symmetrical, so. But that's what happens with a sticky finger. And push these in better. There we go. Push them in a little bit deeper. Well, alrighty then. And like so. And we're going to put another one. Let's see. No, you know what? No more. I don't want to put anything too close. Anything this size, at any rate, too close to the bone. So I have a plethora of brushes here, artist brushes. Just simply dip the tip of the handle in some alcohol. Well, the first thing I want to do is get this into the eye socket. You all see that, I hope. Get this in here first. I may go with a little larger one after I make the first initial hole. Just putting a dab of alcohol so that it doesn't stick to the wood doesn't stick to the clay. Trying to get it as centered as possible. Gently, gently, gently. There we go. Take a look. Okay, it's like it's got cockeyed eyes. Wherever you, no matter where you go, it's looking at you. Let's see. There's some more brushes here. This one's just, it's the same, just a wee bit larger. Just increase this in size just a little. No, same exact size. It's the same exact size. Okay. I've got my little doohickey here. This is an eye socket starter that they use to make ceramic dolls. And they have little round bowls on these pegs, and they're in different sizes. Okay. So I'm going to use this one here. I don't know if I wanted to use anything quite that big. So we're going to stick with the brush handle that's been successful all this time and continue to poke holes in his story. I'm going just about down to the label, just within millimeters of the start of the label on the brush. Nice gentle twisting motion, and behind the key button, and then right here right down in here. We're going to get a piece of plywood here. Get a piece of ply and hold it tight against here. And of course here you can also see how this is lined up pretty well. Okay, just push that a little bit. We'll put them on the other side. I'll put one here. And again here. All right. Now, I also want to put a few across the top. So we get our little bit of plywood here, and we simply one here. One here. Let's go a little deeper on this one. And one right in the middle, like so. Then I'll put my finger behind here and put one here. Yeah, it's separating the wall just a little bit. It's okay. That'll get repaired again or pushed back together. And then here. That looks pretty good. I was going to put one in here, but I don't think I'm going to go there. That's going to become awfully tough to line up. That would become awfully difficult to line up properly. So here we have it. This is our little fella here, ready for the front part of the box mold to be put in place. Like so. Pardon my big head. There we are. And there we are. Down she goes. Down she goes. And there. Squeeze that puppy tight. All right. There we have it. Of course, I need to now bring some clay up the corners. I need to put some clay. I'm going to pull these keys back out because they're going to get knocked out anyway. I need to put clay wherever the wood joins the clay. I need to make sure that's properly sealed. Properly sealed. So we'll add a little soft clay in here, down the front, and then up the sides of the box. This box will be its permanent mold box. This will be permanent. This is part of it. So I'm going to make sure this fits snug and correct all around. The rear portion of the box has got to fit just right. Requires a little bit of trimming, I see, of the clay in the back here. Okay. Ever so slightly. A little bit of trimming. Just to be sure it fits snug. And I may also trim up a little bit around the sides where it's creating a springing action on the wood. I don't really want that. I want this box to fit this mold perfectly. So I'm going to do a little tiny bit of trimming, and when I come back it will be time to pour silicone into the front half of the mold. I'll be putting separator in, letting it dry, and pouring silicone. So far so good. Still keeping my fingers crossed. Separator used for the skull is the MR15, available from Silicone Inc. I took one of my watercolor brushes and carefully bent it with a long nose pliers to it has a curved shape. This way I could get up under the eye sockets here and here. Okay. I could have applied the separator before I secured it in the box, but that would have been a little different because of the clay wall involved in this case. But as you can see, the separator is on here. It's got a good 2 coats. So I'm ready to begin pouring the silicone. Again, I'm using PlatSil 7315. This is a platinum cure silicone. It has a 30-minute working time and a 4-hour demold time, and it dries to a hazy transparent shade. It's got a very thin viscosity, and I'm going to use about 170 grams of A and 170 grams of B. I'm going to mix it up in this clear plastic cup, and I'll do that when next we return. Okay, we turn on the scale. This scale came from Harbor Freight Tools, just a few bucks. It's a good little digital scale. I'm going to put in about 170 grams. Okay. Right there. That's 170 of the part A. Wipe off the lip of the jug. Put the cover back on immediately. And I'm going to put in another 170 grams of the part B. That will bring my total up to 340. Boy, I hope this is not too much. Now we mix up our silicone and make a thorough mixing. Go one direction and the other. I like to go figure 8s and scrape the sides and the bottom of your container. This is just a paint mixer from Lowe's. You can buy paint mixers anywhere where they sell paint, obviously. Like I say, this has got a 30-minute working time, so I'm not really too worried about getting it mixed up fast enough. It's going to be, you know, it's got some working time. I'd rather have a thorough mix than have it not mixed enough. And I'll be pouring it into the mold once I'm done mixing it up. Now I'm going to come in from a height and produce a thin stream of silicone down into the mold. I want to make sure it flows evenly around the wood buttons. I want to be sure it's flowing evenly in and around all of the details. And what I'm going to do when it's about halfway filled, I'm going to stop and I'm going to make sure that it gets up underneath the eye sockets so I don't have an air bubble trapped under the eye sockets. And the way to do that is I'm going to tip the mold back and forth to make sure it's thoroughly covered. And you can see it's flowing into the eye sockets on one side. Now we'll get it to flow in on the other side. And it's flowing around the buttons. When it gets about halfway up the eye sockets, okay, and on this silicone you can stop it in midstream. Like I say, there's a half hour, you have sort of a half hour grace, a half hour working time with it. So I can put this down, put the stir stick back in, and then because this is nicely sealed along the bottom, I'm simply going to tip this around and catch all this as it's happening. It's all happening at the zoo. We want to get under the eye sockets. I really want to get under them really well. I want to coat every little thing. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to come up along this rear wall and make sure that my silicone gets around the bottom side of these little wood buttons as well. As you can see, that's coating nicely there. This way I'm sure that, see, once you've got silicone underneath an overhanging portion, it's coated. Once it's coated, there's less chance of trapping any air under there. Here we go, like so. I'm practically turning it upside down. I get the eye socket filled and let the silicone flow to the other side, and then rock it back and forth. And then backward, frontward, backwards, all around. I want that to really coat everything. Another thing you want to do when you're pouring a mold, you want to be sure your board that you're working on is on a level. So you want to check it across and you want to check it lengthwise. And this is, oh, there we go. This is on the level. Hey gang, it's on the level. Which is a good thing. Now, we're going to go through and continue our pour. Thin stream. And continue until we come right up to the top of the mold box. Now I'm going to stop again. I'm going to stop it again. Wipe the edge off with my finger because I can. And I'm going to rock it again to make sure there are no air bubbles trapped under these eye sockets. And now continue to fill. All the way to the top. Top, 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 tippy top, top. Oh, I mixed up a little too much silicone. I did it again. I did it again. I gotta stop these calculations and just eyeball it. Now I'm going to take some Pol-Ease 2500 release agent, spray it across the top, and break up those little tiny air bubbles on the surface. Those little champagne bubbles. And you can see it did just that. Don't need a lot. Just enough to break them up. And that's so. Now, just so you know how much is left over. This is a lot. This is a lot of waste. Shame on me. Shame on me. Instead of 170, I guess I should have used about 130 or 140. But anyway, regardless, too late to cry about it now. This is going to set for about 4 hours, 5 hours, until it's cured. Break up that little bubble right there. All right, that bubble is one of the little key locks. So I want to make sure this box is perfectly level. And I'm just going to top it off with just a wee bit more silicone. Tiny, tiny bit more. I want to come up to the top of the clay at least. All right. Doesn't take much. Just enough. There we go. All right. That should do her. Let this set for about 4 or 5 hours. And when I come back, I'll be pulling the clay away, pulling out these top wood buttons here, and then sealing the back of the box, pouring the second half of the mold. All right, it's been about 5 hours and our silicone is set. Real nice. Now, the next thing to do is to pull the clay away, and I've already pulled away a couple of little braced pieces that I put on the bottom there. I'm going to pull the top away now on camera. Alright, that's coming away real nice. Look at that. Oh, look at that. That is nice. Look at that. We'll see how nice we can take this away here. There's the top piece. One side. Another side. All right. I'm going to take the rear of the box off, this one rear panel. I'll take this off. Remove the bubba rands. So I have access to the back here. And with a modeling tool, I'm going to get in with this large Jonas modeling tool, and I'm going to proceed to remove the clay. Right, we have those little parts there need to come away. Now you want to be careful that you don't break the bone when removing the parts. There's my smaller metal modeling tool. Here it is. Well, you know what? I'm going to get in there with a wooden modeling tool. Maybe this will be a little gentler. Here, need one with a more smaller, narrower tip to get in there with. I want to try and get it out as cleanly as possible. Okay. There we go. It's coming along nice. Okay, so the last little bit of boop. Now that came away nice and clean. Nice and clean. In fact, couldn't have been any cleaner. All right, we have a good detail is still intact here. Just get a couple little crumbs of clay out of the way here. We don't want that to become part of the second half of the top mold. That's perfect right there. That came out real nice. Get this in camera real if I can. You can see how well that worked out. Okay, here we go. I'm going to pull this out. Very nice. Very nice. You can see we have our little locking tips right here, same as on top. Okay, now we're going to pull these little chucklehead wood buttons out. Use my metal modeling tool for that for sure. There we go. All right, let's get this out of here. This tool is thin enough to be able to get behind them and pop them out. This one, and there's the second one. It just falls to the floor. That's okay. Now, what I need to do before I pour any more silicone, I need to just freshen up the line of the clay here and seal in around the edge of the box. When I get the sides sealed in, I'm going to reattach the back with stronger tape and several rubber bands, more than just the 3 that I had holding it before. And then I'll be ready to go ahead and pour the back half of the mold. I need to do just a little bit of cleanup here and there. Just scrape some adhering clay away from the bone to make sure that we have no little lumps and bumps on our final casting. And I'll go ahead and do a little bit of cleanup because that's boring and takes forever, so I'll do that off camera. And when I come back, the clay will be applied. Sure, I'm dropping everything. I'm sure you can hear it. Clay will be applied here like so, and we'll get this all sealed up. All right, the sides have been filled in, and the floor of the box has been evened off. There were little undulations in it, and they've been filled in a little more level. Now, before I put the back on, I'm going to go ahead and add some locking points to this section of the mold.